Hi, everybody. It's Katie Harris, the owner of Philly Wellness Center. And today's topic, we're talking about semaglutide versus liposuction. Woo. All right. So, what about them? Should you get semaglutide or liposuction? We do some body contouring in the Philly Wellness Center. And I do have people come in and they're like, oh, well, maybe I'll get some liposuction. And I generally try and talk them into semaglutide. And I'll tell you why. It's not because I'm against liposuction. It's fairly limited in what it can do. So semaglutide, in addition to reducing visceral fat, which we'll talk about in a second, it increases insulin sensitivity, decreases gastric motility, sends satiety messages to the brain, repairs and regenerates muscle tissue, decreases inflammation, improves your gut microbiome. It does a lot of things. So it's extremely, extremely helpful. Now, let's talk about subcutaneous fat versus visceral fat. So when you have visceral fat, and I have a picture I'll show you in a second, one of the things that happens is that it gets stored most often in the liver. So then you start developing a fatty liver. And this is called, if it's from alcohol, it's an alcoholic liver, right? But if it's not from alcohol, it's from a fatty, poor diet choices. We call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which is really a terrible name. But anyway, fatty liver basically goes from a healthy liver. A poor diet can cause fatty liver. Visceral fat around that liver leads to chronic hepatitis. So this is where you will start exhibiting symptoms of hepatitis, inflamed, overused liver, basically, and it gets to cirrhosis. When it gets to cirrhosis, this is irreversible. There are some things that we can do to treat this, but ultimately you're on the pathway to liver cancer, which is really a terminal diagnosis. So this is a serious event here, right? So, and this happens with visceral fat. Now, what is visceral fat and what about liposuction? So this is a nice schematic graphic of it. So subcutaneous fat is this layer right here, and it's got some benefits and uses that we'll talk about. And then visceral fat is the internal organs, right? So for subcutaneous fat, you have a finite ability to store subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat itself has some benefits, right? It pads your muscles and bones. It helps your blood vessels and nerves, keeps them nice and lubricated. It controls your body temperature. It's a place for energy storage. So when the body needs energy, you can easily convert subcutaneous fat into energy utilization. You can use that very quickly. And it's also an estrogen depot. So there's estrogen in fat, and it's in subcutaneous fat. So it helps maintain consistent estrogen levels. So what happens when you get rid of subcutaneous fat? You might feel cold, you could be energy depleted, and the estrogen, you get low estrogen symptoms. This is particularly important for women. Symptoms of low estrogen: irregular periods, hot flashes, difficulty sleeping, reduced sex drive, mood swings, dry skin, headaches. These are the things they never tell you when you go for liposuction. You might be metabolically fit and just have a little pooch that you want to get rid of. So you go to liposuction, you get rid of the pooch, and then you have symptoms of low estrogen. That's because you just got rid of your estrogen depot, and you need it. So unfortunately, a lot of these women that get liposuction end up having these symptoms of low estrogen about 6 weeks after liposuction. So if we go back to this picture, let's think about this for a second. So we've talked about this in other videos, but I like to say when you eat, right, the food is converted into glucose. It's broken down into glucose, and insulin's job is to race to the rescue and says, all right, what do we do with this glucose? It can't circulate in the blood. If it circulates in the blood, you can develop diabetic coma. You can certainly die from excess glucose in the blood. So it's extremely important that insulin does something with it. So the first thing insulin does is it takes it to the liver to store as glucagon and takes it to the cells and says, all right, everybody, it's time to eat. Here's some glucose for you, chow down. But the cells in the liver have a finite capacity to eat the glucose. So when they're full, then insulin goes and says, okay, well, we're going to store it in subcutaneous fat. And that's this layer right here, right, in the abdomen. So you have multiple areas of subcutaneous fat. This is the one that we all think of. But this is a finite capacity. So there's only so much subcutaneous fat that can go here. And it could be 10 pounds. It might be 5 pounds for you. It could be 15 pounds for you. But there's a finite, each of us have a finite capacity to store subcutaneous fat. And again, when you look at the benefits of subcutaneous fat, it's controlling your body temperature, it's giving you an estrogen depot, and it's storing energy. So energy can be easily released. Let's say you're running a marathon and your liver is depleted of glucagon and your cells need energy. They can quickly convert subcutaneous fat into energy. And that's what it's there for. And then it gets replaced when you eat again. And that's actually a really good function. What is dangerous is this visceral fat. So you see the fat deep inside, and it's around the organs, it's around the intestines, it's around the liver. That's where you get fatty liver, the pancreas, the adrenals. It's just fat everywhere. When you do liposuction, it takes the subcutaneous fat, right? And that's a problem because, one, there's only so much fat that they can take here. And two, it doesn't take any of this. So they leave all the visceral fat behind. So you just spent what, $20,000, $30,000 on liposuction, and you're not any healthier, and actually might be more miserable because now you have low estrogen symptoms. And you can regain fat in this area, right? They can rip out all the cells, but insulin can redeposit fat cells in the subcutaneous area, and then you're right back where you were. You're just short a lot of money. And it's like I said, the visceral fat. This is what you have to be worried about. This is the big deal. This is what causes fatty liver, pancreatitis, all the issues. And it's not just here, but it goes into your muscle fibers as well. And there is an infinite capacity. So basically, you can get fatter and fatter and fatter until your entire organ systems start failing. And then that's it. That's end game, right? So liposuction has, in my opinion, a very limited value here because it's taking subcutaneous fat that is a depot for energy storage, estrogen storage, and it's keeping your temperature regulated. It's not touching subcutaneous fat at all. Acute removal of subcutaneous fat can cause low estrogen symptoms, moodiness, depression, low sex drive, and it can be extremely problematic. And you didn't fix the problem. You still need to get rid of the visceral fat, which is what the semaglutide does. So semaglutide will go after visceral fat and can help you reduce the amount of visceral fat that you have and repair your systems, right? So it is a regenerative, reparative hormone. It does repair muscle. It regenerates muscle tissue. So it's very helpful in that way, and it decreases inflammation. So it is multi-prong, and your results are, it's obviously going to be slower than liposuction. You're not gonna lose hopefully 20 pounds in a month or 50 pounds in a month. You want to spread that out over a time period. But in my opinion, the semaglutide, it's a low, slow, and effective way of removing visceral fat and getting down to your ideal weight, and helping to motivate you to do things. And you don't get energy depletion, you don't get estrogen depletion, you don't lose body temperature. And it's just, in my opinion, a much better way to go because it's systemic. It's going to go after fat wherever it needs to and not just localized in this one area. So something to think about before you go into liposuction. If you have questions, feel free to contact us anytime at the Philly Wellness Center. And if you're in Pennsylvania, Delaware, or New Jersey, we can help you. Just give us a call and set up an appointment. Thanks so much.